Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing the Gameweek 38 100 Experts video, the video where we're going to be looking at the transfer trends among those veteran premium managers, seeing what they're up to, who are they transferring in, who are they transferring out, who are they captaining, and are they using any chips this week. Spoiler alert, not many chips this week, but I'll tell you what guys, there is plenty of really good information in terms of transfers, especially those differential transfers and those differential captains as well guys, so you are going to really enjoy this one for the final time this season. I really hope you do, and if you do, please do leave a like, massively helps out the channel, and of course do subscribe if you are new around here. You're leaving it a bit late, but fine, I welcome all of you at this late stage of the season. Thank you so much for all of you who have been supporting the channel. So guys, without further ado, I think we meet the 100 FPL experts that have helped us out this week. So here they are, here are the 100 names of those who have contributed their data of what they are doing this game week to this video. I just want to give a massive shout out to all of these people because not only have they helped you guys in terms of giving the data and helping us form some trends, but they've also really helped me out. These videos, I'll tell you what guys, these videos have helped me out so much throughout the season and trying to just see what the trends are, trying to identify some of those players that I didn't really think of before, but if a lot of experts are going for them, then I should be considering them as well. So really important that we just give props to all of the experts because they are absolute legends. Shout out to every single one of you who are helping this video and throughout the season as well. But without further ado, again guys, let's have a look at some of the data that we received this week. So we've got 47% of our managers making one transfer this week, 43% making two transfers, 7% making three transfers, taking those -8s, and 1% not making a transfer at all this week. I don't actually know if I believe that one person that they won't make a single transfer. I mean, it's not like you can roll it on to the next week. There is no game week 39 after all, but still, someone said they're not going to make a transfer this week, so you know, I'll believe them for the sake of the video, I guess. And two people, of course, on a free hit as well. So overall what we're seeing here guys is about half of the people are just making one transfer and the other half are going all in and making multiple transfers, and I think we're actually going to see an average hit of about -2 I guess. So we are going to see a lot of people going for hits this week. It's going to be an all or nothing situation with those hits because any hit you make has to be made up in this game week. So you have to be, if you're making hits, just make sure you are considering, are your players that you're bringing in seriously going to outscore the players you're taking out by more than 4 points? Is it really worth it? Is it worth it? And a lot of the cases, it is going to be worth it. But guys, just bear that in mind. Most people are probably not going to make back their -4s. That's just how things work. There's only one game week to see if it works out or not. It's a single game week as well, but definitely something you can consider if you've got some really big moves and you want to go for broke, you want to go all or nothing in this final game week. Completely don't blame you. I'll probably do the same myself, to be fair. In terms of chips, we've not got much chip usage, to be fair, and you probably expected that. Most people who know what they're doing in FPL have already used the majority of their chips, if not all of their chips by now, but there are a few stragglers still. So no one's using a wild card. I mean, that kind of makes sense. No one's using a bench boost. We've got 3 people using their triple captain chip. Maybe they hadn't used it previously in the season, and they've kind of realized, oh my word, there is one game week left. We have to use it right now, so I guess let's use it. And then 2 people using the free hit, as I mentioned earlier as well. 95% not using a free hit, not using a chip at all. But yeah, just to mention guys, if you still do have a chip left, remember you have to use it this week. Even if you think it's not going to go very well, you may as well use it. If you're thinking, what should I do about a bench boost, just play it and hope that you've got enough points on your bench to get you a few points. I don't think I'll be taking real big minuses or anything like that to use your bench boost. I just don't think you're probably just not going to make it back unless you're transferring out players who are just not going to play. And obviously if you've got a triple captain chip left, if you want to use that, like, just use it on whoever you would going to captain anyway. I mean, a lot of people ask, who should I triple captain this week? Well, who are you going to captain normally? That's the player to triple captain. So we will get onto captains a little later on down the line, and I'll tell you who people are triple captaining among our experts as well. But let's move on from here. So, as we always do, we're going to check out the trends among all of FPL managers. So, I call this the data from casual managers because this is mostly data, you know, where there's 9 million players. Not all of these players are experts or really interested in playing at a high level, but just to give a comparison between what the general player base is thinking compared to what the experts are thinking, is there any overlap here? And guys, let me tell you, this week, there's actually a significant amount of overlap. So, a lot of the players you see on this list are also being heavily picked by our experts. So Son, Bowen, Kane, Luis Diaz, Tony, Vardy, Reece James and Mason Mount all have significant interest kind of being generated among our experts as well. So in terms of, are people getting it right in general? It seems like people are getting this one right. But there are a few players on this list that are being transferred in by a lot of the overall FPL player base that actually our experts are not interested in at all. And those two players are Eddie Nketiah and Joel Matip. So we've got, I think, one person transferring in Nketiah, but there's about 5 or 6 people, I think, we'll see in a second, but there's quite a few people transferring out Eddie Nketiah. So he's definitely not a player that is being targeted by experts at all this week, and a lot of people are transferring him out, in fact. Matip, on the other hand, no one is interested in him at all. No one's buying him, no one's selling him. So I guess he's one of those players that if you have him, keep him. If you don't have him, probably don't buy him either. And there's 2 players left on here, De Bruyne and Maddison, who I haven't mentioned yet, which are kind of interesting ones. Maddison, there's a little bit of interest, or just a couple of people buying Maddison, so he's not like a huge target. De Bruyne, on the other hand, is interesting. I think there's, maybe 3 or 4 people bringing him in. Again, we'll have a look at that in a second. But there's also about equal amount transferring him out as well. So De Bruyne is, again, a player who is being sold by some of our experts, being bought by other of our experts. Overall, you probably say that balances out and becomes another player that if you have him, keep him. If you don't have him, you might not necessarily be the kind of player to buy. There are a lot of other players who are in that premium bracket. I know you guys are going to be looking for Salah replacements, guys. There are a lot of players in that premium bracket that are preferred to De Bruyne, so I just wanted to make that known. In terms of transfers out, we have, of course, got Salah as the main transfer out. I mean, we kind of understand this, and this is assuming that he is unavailable. Even if he is available, you do get the impression that maybe he just starts on the bench or something, and maybe gets some minutes at the end, or doesn't play a full game. That's not really what we want going into Game Week 38, really, because we want to maximise the amount of points we can get in this final push, I suppose. So a lot of people are removing Salah, whether that's because they were on a free hit last week and therefore didn't have the option to transfer out Salah last week, or maybe they are just, they kept Salah for whatever reason, just in case last game week and hadn't removed him yet. But those who have still got him seem to be pretty much removing him en masse. It's pretty unanimous here. If you've got Salah, you've probably got to remove him for this game week, unless we hear something very, very strongly suggesting that Salah is going to be starting on Sunday. But there's been nothing to suggest that quite yet. So Salah, if you've got him, because of the money that he is and what you can get, the amazing premium players you can get to replace him, it's going to be a priority transfer out. Aside from that, we've kind of got a lot of basically Everton and Aston Villa players. Coutinho, Cash, Richarlison, Watkins there. You've got Danny Ings slightly down the list as well. These players from Everton and Aston Villa have obviously got very tough fixtures in the final game week. Aston Villa play against Man City. Everton play against Arsenal. Maybe you don't consider that a tough fixture. I don't know. But these fixtures are not ideal. And again, if we're maximising our points, we need to kind of target those easier teams. And those two teams are not playing easy teams in Game Week 38. So they are all players that you can very easily sell, very easily part ways with. There's a couple other players in here that I thought were kind of interesting. A lot of people transferring out Saka, which I didn't really expect going into that Everton game, but maybe that's more a case of there's other midfielders that are preferred right now, and it's to try and make other moves. Like I said, Nketiah is being transferred out by a few people as well. And finally, we've got Havertz and Diaz at the bottom there, who are obviously injured players, so that's why they're being transferred out, because of the injury problems that they have at the moment, and it's just not really worth the risk. It's not worth the risk for real life managers playing them in Game Week 38, and it's not worth the risk us FPL managers keeping them in our FPL sides, particularly when they are very expensive players. So these are kind of the players you're going to probably look at transferring out this game week. But who are you going to be looking at transferring in? Well, according to our FPL experts, anyway. Well, it's Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son is making the headlines here. 24 transfers in out of our 97 managers who are making a transfer this game week. That's pretty significant, especially if you consider that you probably say, I don't know, like 60-70% of people already have Son in their team. It seems like those who don't have Son in their team yet are transferring him in, and that is primarily for Salah. So if you've got Salah, you're looking for a replacement, a direct replacement in particular. Salah to Son just seems like such an obvious transfer move that we'll speak a little bit more about it in a second. But yeah, Son is pretty much your target number one if you don't have him already for this game week, but there are plenty of other options here. We've got Mason Mount Mount, who I was kind of pleasantly surprised is so high up the list, because I already have Mason Mount in my team, and I kind of thought, you know, is he going to be a popular one for Gameweek 38? Are people going to want him for Gameweek 38? But he plays against Watford in Gameweek 38, which is obviously a really good thing for Chelsea. It's a really good fixture, and hopefully they can score some goals in there and get us some FPL points. So yeah, we've got some other Chelsea players in there as well. You can see Alonso and Reece James. I think those are being targeted in particular, Alonso and Reece James, because they're the kind of players who either score, you know, I've spoken about this before in other videos this week, but going into 38, if you are looking for those big rank swings, you have to go for those all or nothing players. And we know for a fact that Alonso and Reece James are the kind of players who either score 2 points, maybe 1 point, or they go all the way the other way and score a 15-pointer, maybe even a 20-pointer sometimes. So you've got to be in it to win it. So going for these high risk, high reward players, that could actually really work in your favour going into that final game week and giving you a real big swing, a real big final push that you really want. We've got Kane here as well. A couple other I guess, Spurs players, Son, we've spoken about, but Kane, Sessegnon and Kulusevski are there as well. They play against Norwich, so we do want to be focusing on Spurs to quite a big degree. I would say, guys, if possible, try and make sure you are tripled up on Spurs going into the final game week. I think that's a good idea in general. You know, they've just got such a good fixture. They've got so much to play for. They've got, you know, they need to get a victory in this game, basically, and they are going to go full strength in their final game of the season, and they're probably going to absolutely batter an already relegated Norwich side. So we're expecting a lot of goals in that game, especially with Norwich probably playing with a little bit of freedom, I guess, in their final game in the Premier League for this year, or at least for another year, unless they get promoted in a year's time again. It could happen, but yeah, certainly this is a real big one for Spurs, and we should be going in on their players. We've got Tony there as well, Vardy. Those are kind of interesting players you could potentially go for. Luis Diaz is a bit of a differential. Bowen is a little bit of a differential as well. And like I said, there is a little bit of interest in De Bruyne, but not a massive amount of interest, with just 4 people transferring him in out of 97. In terms of premiums, Son, Kane and Vardy are certainly the preferred premiums. They're kind of the you know, much higher up the list. If you're removing Salah, you want to get a new premium. Son, Kane, Vardy are preferred to De Bruyne, but De Bruyne is still an option, to be fair, if you do really fancy him. So let's suggest some transfers. I think the first and the most obvious transfer, like I said, is Salah to Son. That seems like a absolute slam dunk transfer. If you don't already have Son in your team and you have Salah in your team, you just do this transfer. Like, it's so obvious. You don't really need to even think about this one. It's just a kind of a transfer that kind of writes itself. Takes a lot of the pressure off you guys as well, to be honest, because it's just, you know, such a good and obvious transfer, and that's why so many people are making this move. It's just a good one to go for. But we have got a couple of other suggestions here, and I know it doesn't fully make sense because I'm suggesting removing Salah, who is a midfielder, and replacing him with a forward, i.e. Kane or Vardy, but just try and think about it a little bit. I guess try and give me a little bit of leeway. I suppose what I really mean by this is removing Salah, replacing Salah with a cheaper midfielder, and then replacing one of your cheaper forwards with a Kane or a Vardy. So downgrade the midfielder in Salah and upgrade the forward to a Kane or a Vardy, taking a -4 if necessary, and that could be pretty interesting as well, particularly if you've already got Son and you want to go for someone else, or you don't really fancy Son for whatever reason, or you just want to go differential. Kane and Vardy are kind of your friends there, really, and you'll probably want to be looking at taking a -4 to go for one of those players. In terms of other transfers, there's really quite a lot you can do. There's so many options, really. I mean, I suggest you guys go back and refer to that transfers in page as a kind of transfer list, I suppose, a transfer targets list, I guess. But here are the most common themes. I guess Coutinho to Mount is a really obvious transfer you can make as well. Coutinho with that horrible fixture against Man City and the poor form, and replace him with Mount, who is in very good form and has got a fantastic fixture against Watford. So that looks like a really good transfer there you can make, particularly if you've got a little bit of money in the bank, or you're freeing up a little bit of money by making other transfer moves. A couple of moves that you can do to free up a little bit of cash, if that's what you want to do, is go for a, you know, if you've got a Richarlison or a Watkins or a Danny Ings, one of those players like that, you can transfer them out to Tony, who is a very nice cheap striker. He plays against Leeds in the final game week, and if you think Brentford are going to go out with a bang against a Leeds defence that kind of concede quite a few goals, then Tony is probably the player to go for, particularly as Leeds do like to concede the odd penalty as well, which Tony is always good for. And finally, I've got down here Cash to Sessegnon. Sessegnon is the most popular defensive transfer in, and Cash is the most popular defensive transfer out. You're probably not going to want Cash against Man City, to be fair. You're just going to, you're asking for trouble, to be honest. So if you have got Cash, you know, you're going to either bench him or transfer him out. Those are pretty much your two options. And Sessegnon against Norwich, if you're not already tripled up on Spurs assets, Sessegnon could do pretty well, and it's just so good for his price. We know he's going to play because Reguilon is injured for this game as well. So really good transfer. But I do want to give a little shout out as well to Reece James and Marcus Alonso, who are also pretty popular transfers in. If you have the money to do it, moving cash to an Alonso or a James could be a really nice way of just getting one of those players that can randomly score you a bunch of points. It really could happen, and you, like I always say, you've got to be in it to win it. So maybe go all in and go cash up to a Reece James or Marcus Alonso, and then kind of see what happens, I guess. But maybe there's a little bit of rotation risk with Chelsea, presumably safe, safe in third place by then. I mean, they're arguably, they're already safe in third place, really. But, maybe there's going to be a bit of rotation there. I don't know, but let's just see. But those are kind of some other transfers you can make, excluding the Salah one. But we've got to finish off this video by looking at the captains. It is one of my favourite parts of the video, to be honest, just because we get to see what the captain trends are. And there's a few differentials in here as well that I think you might like. So I am running out of Son images here, but here is another picture of Son on your screen. It really is the Son show in this video, isn't it? 61% captaincy. So 61 out of 100, all captaining Son. He is by far the most popular captain pick of the game week. There are people going for differentials. There are people going for something a little bit sneaky, but Son is definitely the most popular choice. And Kane on 20% as well gives the Spurs attackers a total, captaincy percentage of 81%. So the real obvious thing to do this, guys, this week, guys, in 38 is just to captain a Spurs player. I can speak about this so much. You guys already know the Spurs game against Norwich. That's probably the game we're expecting to see the highest scoreline in. There's the most goals available for players there. So it's probably going to be Son and Kane absolutely dominating game week 38. And that's kind of reflected in these captaincy stats as well. So if you're feeling safe, go for Son. If you're feeling a little bit risky, go for Kane. If you're feeling ultra risky and you just want to go all or nothing, your mini league rivals are going to captain a Son or a Kane, or you really just want to make a massive rank boost and you don't really care if you drop down ranks, then maybe you go a little bit more differential, because we've got De Bruyne on 6%, we've got Mason Mount against Watford on 3%, shout out to Alonso and Reece James at 2% each as well, all playing Watford. Like I was saying, Alonso and James, that could go really, really badly, but it could also go really, really well. So if you want to take that risk, go for it. And a few people going for Vardy versus Southampton as well, which is not something I really expected, but as a differential captain on Vardy, I think you could do a lot worse than that. So yeah, why not go for that? And of course, guys, as always, the number never adds up to 100% because we've got a couple of 1%ers as well. And the three 1%ers making up the rest of the 100% are 1%, so one person going for Lukaku, one person going for Bowen as their captain, and finally the last person is going for Salah, assuming Salah is fit. Now that could be hugely differential if Salah does end up turn out to be fit. That could be a huge differential captain, but we won't focus too much on the 1%ers because 1% is not a trend. The trends really say Son or Kane should be your captains this week. Those are so obvious. That's what I would advise you guys do, but if you want to go crazy, you go for it. Alright guys, that is the end of the video, and that concludes the final 100 Experts video of the season. I really hope you did enjoy what you saw today. I really hope you've been enjoying these 100 Experts videos all season. They're obviously a new series I kind of brought in for this season, for the 2021-22 season, and I'm really looking forward to taking this series into the next season as well, because like I say, it helps me probably just as much as it helps you, to be honest. So I mean, I think they're really beneficial for me to make, even if they do take a little bit of time to compile the data. I just think they're so worthwhile. So do let me know what you think. Do you want to see a return of this series next season? If you do, then I will absolutely be doing it, but I might do it either way just because I like the series, to be honest. But yeah, guys, likes on the video would be amazing. Subscriptions as well if you fancy it. Go for it. But yeah, aside from that, guys, we've got a few more different videos this week. We'll do our team selection obviously as well, but yeah, we'll do some different videos this week as well, give some kind of more general tips on how to approach game week 38. I think you're going to enjoy that, so stick around, plenty more to come before the Sunday deadline. Oh, it's exciting stuff, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.